Hi, this is John Wentworth. Not all recruiting is equal. Some works well, delivering great candidates on time and for a reasonable price. Other recruiting does not. The difference between the two is how the work is done. The litmus test of good recruiting is getting good hires. What is a good hire? Well, partly it's the outcome, long-term, stable, and productive employees. Partly it's how the getting of those hires fits into the organization. If any of those does not work correctly, good hires will not happen. This is all fine, but who cares? Why is making good hires important? It's important because good hires get you long-term, stable, and highly productive employees. The candidate pool needs to serve the hiring managers by delivering choices within a strong pool of competent candidates. Qualified, but with modest individual differences, is the goal. Recruiters are notorious for delivering candidates who do not have what they need to have. It's crudely referred to as throwing mud against the wall and seeing what sticks. This approach, albeit widespread, does not work well. The qualified pool, again, needs to have some variability. The hiring manager needs a feeling of having been able to make a choice, something he or she cannot do if the candidates are exactly the same. The feeling aside, hiring managers also need choices because the choices may represent new ways of looking at the job that had not been considered before and would not have been considered had a resume that was just a little off-center not been presented. Here's what a good pool looks like. Remember, dark green is more than the hiring manager wants, light green is what the hiring manager wants, and red is less. This is a real pool. The red person on the right was the incumbent. The charter was to find better people. Obviously, this was done. The far left candidate was very attractive for a week or so, but the client was a paper distributor that resided in a tilt wall concrete warehouse in an industrial park. When the far left candidate walked in his $1,000 suit and his $500 shoes, everybody knew it was not a fit. The company hired the person in the middle with the average score of 3, which was the goal. 2 years later, he was still there, doing well. The pool of candidates must actually exist, be affordable, and want the job. The variable in this situation is the hiring manager's expectations. You cannot change who is or is not in the labor market for the money offered and the location of the job and all of that. But you can change your hiring manager's understanding of who's available, and you can influence with this information what skills, experiences, and characteristics he or she expects to be able to hire. Similarly, you cannot change what qualified candidates want, but you can help hiring managers get their expectations in line with what they can get for the offered compensation. You can also find other ways of getting value to the candidates. Money's not the only currency. Attraction retention studies, including one on the Wentworth website in the workforce planning section, tell us that after pay reaches a certain level, table stakes, other factors become equally important. The overall compensation package can include type of work, company environment, liking your boss, and more. But in the end, the pool must include only candidates who are affordable. The candidates presented to the hiring manager must want the job. Nothing sours the relationship between the hiring manager and the recruiter than unrequited love. Hiring managers falling in love with a candidate only to find they can't have him or her is not good. Once you have candidates who are qualified, affordable, and who want to work for you, you can land them and get the work done by someone who is happy to be working for you. Once you have a good candidate pool, it's up to the hiring manager to pick the right person. The folklore of business is filled with stories of managers hiring their spouse's idiot third cousin because of pressure from the spouse. There are also stories of managers hiring their best friends or just candidates that they like in the interview without consideration or whether or not they can do the job. These stories generally have bad endings. So here are some rules for the hiring decision. First, hire the best from the available pool. This requires looking carefully and rationally at the candidates versus the requirements and making sure that you are picking the strongest overall from that group. Intuition does not get you there. Careful, rational evaluation does. Picking the best from a bad pool does not do you a lot of good. The pool must be good. You might laugh at this, but it occurs again and again that a recruiter will attempt to talk a hiring manager into hiring the best of the group, even though the group is lousy. Typically, this reflects the recruiter being lazy. Sometimes it reflects the recruiting not bringing the reality to the labor market to the hiring manager. Whatever the cause, candidate selection is a time when you can be fussy and picky so long as you recognize what you can have because of skill distribution, compensation requirements, and your reputation as an employer or other factors that drive whether people want to work for you or not. So long as you have a good fix on the labor market, then you should be demanding and unreasonable in getting the best from the market and hiring the best of those. One of the pieces of folklore I mentioned a moment ago concerns the hiring manager who hires people he or she likes without regard to their qualifications. Other folk tales describe hiring managers doing the opposite, hiring new employees who are terrific technically, but who have the people skills of a porcupine. An organization needs to function through human bonds. Your people need to fit your culture and be highly skilled at their jobs, both of those. Sacrificing either can quickly lead to discord, low productivity, and turnover. You will not want every person that you hire to be promotable, but you will want a selection of people who can be made ready to move up to the next job. We will not take time in this presentation to get deep into succession planning, but a disciplined, quantitative approach to candidate and employee evaluation can allow you to make sure that you have the employees who are ready to move up. This can only be so if you have hired individuals with the potential to do this. Some hiring managers see making an offer as a competition, and they want to win. So if they can talk a terrific candidate into taking the job, particularly rather than another company's job, they feel good. And then that person leaves because they didn't really want the job and just caved to the pressure applied by the hiring manager. A deep match between what you want and what the candidate offers and what the candidate wants and what you offer is important. The labor market's awareness of what a company offers also shapes the candidate pool. In this real-life example, the company wanted certain employees whom the company thought looked down on this company and its industry. They asked candidates what they wanted from the jobs. They found out that the company offered everything that the candidates wanted. They rebranded their jobs, emphasizing that they had what the candidates wanted, and suddenly they had no problem filling the jobs. Data and some modest analysis saved the day and got the jobs filled. How do you do all this quantitative work? The key is how you create requirements. You need 30 to 35 requirements per job. They need to cover every aspect of the match between the job and the person, both skills and experiences on one hand and organizational fit on the other. Each requirement needs to be scaled. We suggest 1 to 5. 1 is less than what you want, 2 a little less than what you want, 3 what you want, 4 a little more than what you want, and 5 a lot more than what you want. As much as you can, these requirements need to be behavioral, describing an action that may be an indicator of having a trait or a competency or describing an experience, and single event, so you are only measuring one thing at a time. Throughout this presentation, we have used these Tootsie Roll-like segmented rods. Each segment shows a score for a different requirement. We have reduced, just for simplicity, the colors down to 2. In real life work, you need 3 colors. Light green is 3, just what you want. Dark green is 4 or 5, more than what you want, and red is 1 or 2, less than what you want. You can see that this display allows you to see the candidate pool clearly at a glance. Each, in fact, usually contains a story, which you can draw out from the arrangement of the colors. Why does the best decision matter? Because you can throw away all your good work, wasting all the time and money that went into developing a fine candidate pool by making a lousy decision. The end result of Next Practices recruiting is long-term, stable, and highly productive employees. We told you that we would cover these elements of a good hire. You now have the tools to evaluate each hire and see if it's good or not, and more importantly, guidelines for how you can make sure that your hires are good. I hope you've enjoyed this and found it useful. Please feel free to call me at 310-732-2301 if you have any questions or would like to talk about this. Thank you so much. This is John Wentworth. Goodbye for now.